The 10-Minute Talent Rant is live. I'm James Hornick, joined by Jeff Smith, and we are on the clock. The 10-Minute Talent Rant is our ongoing series where we break down things that are broken in the talent acquisition and hiring space and maybe even pitch a solution or two. Before we dig in, all our content can be found at talentinsights.hirewall.com, so you can check this replay later if you miss it in the podcast channel. So this week's topic, Unlimited PTO is a scam. So good conversation. We actually we collected some data and did a poll on this one because I wanted to find out people who have unlimited PTO, how much time they actually take off. We'll get into that later. One thing we did not talk in our kind of pre-show kind of promotion for this is Jeff has a long background in this area, and to get everyone the right context and kind of how we got here with time off. Jeff's going to give us a short intro in terms of the history of how time off has evolved into the current state. So Jeff, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, defining the old model versus the new model is super important. So if you think about the old model, it is it's vacation plus sick, and both went into banks, right? They were accrued at a set amount for vacation time, typically 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, it was very rare for it to be anything over that. And that accrual kind of rolled over by and large from year over year. There were some caveats, but that was the general parlance of the time. Sick time was also accrued separately, and it ranged from anywhere from 1 to 5 days a year. So there's your old model. New model, unlimited PTO, the soup du jour. Take time when you need it. You're sick, take the time off. The unaccrued, PTO model kind of blew up in, as I was coming out of school, and it was definitely something that was pitched kind of over and over as I was looking for my first couple jobs. And I think that's become a prevailing policy in corporate America ever since. So I think about it this way. In the first instance, vacation was protected. The vacation banks had to be first of all, they had to be liquid. They had to be paid out, cause or no cause. So there was no limit to the amount of the amount of cash that you could kind of surplus in those banks. So
when you say liquid, you mean companies had to have cash on hand for every employee in every amount accrued sitting there in the banks, an actual bank somewhere, in case the entire company quit tomorrow.
Great point. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. If those banks that had accrued, the company literally was on the hook that if every employee quit the next day, they had to pay all of that out within I think it was 30 or 45 days. I don't know exactly what the legislation was. I remember specifically my mom getting paid out for 8 months of vacation after she quit her longest standing job. I was like, man, that sounds pretty cool. And that's because there was no rollover. No one's banking anymore. So right now, PTO works, the same as vacation, but unlimited time just doesn't accrue by and large any longer. So I think there's your two distinctions.
Okay. So I want to talk about, when we talk about unlimited PTO being a scam, there are a couple kind of caveats I need to put into this. So there's design and execution. So there's actually how these programs are set up, and then how they're actually executed by companies. I need to be very upfront. Not every company that's using this policy is scamming their employees. And that was one of the kind of points of contention that I had in a little bit of the debate we had online. There are places that have mindful, proper execution of this. We'll come back to that later at the end when we talk about kind of our fixes and everything. The design of unlimited PTO has two aspects. So one, the financial savings that Jeff outlined. Now, here's the thing. I don't have an issue with the liquidity requirements which drove all this. It's actually nonsense that a company that has thousands of employees should have to have $1 in the bank for every single day off that someone could potentially take in case the entire company leaves tomorrow. That's an incredible amount of capital getting tied up, and it was a silly rule. And that's what obviously drove all this. It does, on the other aspect, you're also at the same time no longer paying out employees for any sort of accrual because unlimited time off does not accrue. So that kind of sucks for employees.
Yep.
The other side of it, though, is you have to realize that people don't actually take more time off during unlimited PTO plans. And I'm going to actually come to some data we collected about this. By definition alone, that's why I say by calling it unlimited PTO, that is it's an outright lie. It's not unlimited. There are limits. You have the amount of PTO you can take, which is the main issue I have with this entire thing as a branding and advertisement point to potential hires and employees.
I have deadlines. I have responsibilities. I have approval processes. So do you. So does the majority of everybody that's listening to this. Like, work is work. It's
a misnomer and a misleading misnomer that makes it sound way cooler than it is. And people, anyway. So
yeah, tell us about the data.
All right, so we did a survey. This is a very easy one. I actually am pro LinkedIn polls only because I think if you actually know how to structure a question properly, you can get good data. So, question we put out there: if you are on an unlimited PTO plan, how much vacation time do you actually take? First one answer we gave was, I'm not on unlimited, because you have to give people on social media something to click on. So we had 7,200 people respond. Only 4,500 were on unlimited PTO plans. Of those, under 3 weeks, 3 to 5 weeks, 5 weeks or more. 44.9% of people were under 3 weeks, which is not very much. That's bare minimum time off. So nearly half of people on unlimited PTO plans are still taking 3 weeks or less. 43.6% of people, 3 to 5 weeks. So that's a reasonable amount. So another 43.6 people are in that 3 to 5 range. Okay, I can get behind it. Only 11.5% of people were over 5 weeks, where you're totally killing it, taking lots of what I would consider unlimited time off. So those are the numbers, 45 roughly, and 10 in terms of under 3 to 5 and 5 weeks. There was also a lot of data out there. So Glassdoor had some data. 61% of employees admit to working at some point during their paid time off days.
Yeah.
So no matter what, I hate the term unlimited, because as a selling point to job seekers, again, not to keep belaboring this, because it's intentionally misleading. And it sounds like you're getting this amazing benefit, but really you're not getting much more than anyone ever really got before. And a lot of these people aren't getting very much vacation, and you're also not getting it accrued to get any off. That being said, let's discuss the other side.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of companies, use the policy with a pro-employee focus, and it kind of looks like exactly the situation that we ran into in the comment section, right? I know you wanted to give Charlie a shout out, so go for it. Yeah.
So execution, and these are also kind of the fixes for the week. Charlie Judy, he's the CHRO at Intelligent Medical Objects. Great company. His entire company backed him up that they have this policy, but it's great and they love it. So there are places doing. Yeah, it's great. They're doing it well. But let's cover some of these things. We've got 9 suggestions we have if you're running unlimited PTO, what you should actually be doing to run it in a reasonable way. So Jeff, go ahead, kick it off.
Yeah, minimum time off policies are something that I'm starting to hear more about. I like it. I like the idea that you're making sure that folks aren't peer pressured into working more. I mean, I don't know what that number is. I think it would vary from company to company, but setting an expectation that you at a minimum have to take 10 business days off a year it's not going to be the end of the world. That's for sure. I like the idea, if it's done right, of no questions asked policies, as long as it's X amount of days in advance, or you've sent some sort of approval process within an appropriate time frame. There's no manager, no higher up can say no, you can't do that. Flexible work schedules are really intriguing. People are working 10, 12-hour days anyways. There's a world where 4 days get stuff done. You log on for a few hours on Friday and you're done with it. And the holiday season, I think that incentive to have some preloaded afforded time off between that Christmas time and New Year's time is a place where nobody's really working anyways. Let's give as many of these folks time off as possible.
Yeah, there's some benefits platforms out there. And the eVibes does this when they ping you about whatever your benefits are, make sure you're using them, including time off. So there's ways to remind people to take time off. Clear Cover in Chicago, they just announced a 4-day work week over the course of the summer. There's a lot of good things that companies are doing out there.
Yeah. Sick days. Encourage people to stay home when they're sick. Remember coronavirus? That happened. I mean, let's not. I mean, if you're still going to be going to the office, let's incentivize people to not come to the office when they're sick. Yeah. Also, let's start talking about mental health days. This isn't a stigma anymore. everybody just needs a break, right?
Yeah. And last thing, most important thing, stop calling it unlimited PTO, call it flex time, whatever you want to call it. Just, it's so misleading. Anyways, we are short on clock. That's a wrap. Thanks for tuning into the 10-minute talent rant, part of the Talent Insights series, which is always available for replay on talentinsights.hirewall.com. Jeff, thanks again. Everyone out there, we'll see you soon.